Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to crack the code on the entry-level business analyst interview. We're going to build you a clear, step-by-step blueprint that you can literally take right into that interview room. All right, let's get into it.
So, you've got your first BA interview lined up, and maybe you're feeling just a little bit nervous. Totally normal. But you're in exactly the right place, because we're about to swap out that nervousness for a rock-solid, confident game plan.
Okay, first things first. Before you can build anything, you need a good toolkit, right? Well, it's the same for a BA. We're going to cover the core concepts, the absolute must-haves that interviewers are looking for to see if you've really got what it takes. So, what does a business analyst actually do? The best way to think about it, and you should use this in your interview, is that you are a bridge. Seriously, you're the crucial connection between what the business folks want, the stakeholders, and the tech team that's going to build it. You're a translator, turning business goals into tech specs and tech questions back into business talk. And, to be a really good bridge, you need a special set of skills. It's kind of like using both sides of your brain. You've got the people skills, like amazing communication and managing all those different stakeholders. And then you have the hard skills, sharp analytical thinking, solid documentation, and really understanding the software development lifecycle, or the SDLC. Oh, and if you can mention you're familiar with tools like Jira or UML diagrams, that's a huge bonus point right there.
Now let's talk about documentation for a second, because this is a classic interview question designed to trip you up. The BRD, or Business Requirements document, is all about the what. What problem are we solving? What does the business need? But the SRS, the Software Requirement Specification, is all about the how. How is the software actually going to work to make that happen? It's the business vision versus the technical blueprint. And here's the thing, being able to explain that difference clearly, that tells an interviewer everything they need to know. It proves you get the core job of a BA. You understand that you have to start with the business goal first and then figure out the technical details to get there. It's a massive plus.
Okay, so we've got our concepts down. We know the lingo. Now it's time to actually put those skills to the test. Pretty much every BA interview is going to throw a scenario question at you to see how you think on your feet. So let's walk through a super common one. So here's the scene. The interviewer leans in and says, "You're a BA at our e-commerce company, and customers are complaining that it's taking way too long to get their issues resolved. What do you do?" They don't want a quick answer. They want to see your process. How do you tackle a messy problem like this?
The absolute #1 key here is don't panic, and don't just jump to a solution. The biggest mistake people make is blurting out an idea without thinking. Instead, you need a structure, a system, and that's what we have for you, a 6-step blueprint that will work for pretty much any scenario they can dream up.
And here it is, your roadmap to the perfect answer. You start by understanding the problem. Then you map out how things work now, find the gaps, suggest solutions, figure out how to measure success, and finally, wrap it all up. Let's break down each step. Step 1, you become a detective. You don't guess, you investigate. Your first move is to say, I'd start by gathering information. I'd talk to the customer support team, the people who are dealing with this every day, and I'd read through the actual complaints myself. Okay, once you've got some info, you need to see the problem. So for step 2, you'd create what's called an as-is process map. It's basically a flowchart of what happens to a customer complaint right now, from start to finish. This is how you make the problem visible and start to see where things are getting bogged down.
Now for the fun part, the analysis. In step 3, you perform a gap analysis. You take your as-is map and you compare it to what a smooth, efficient process should look like. This is where you find the specific villains of the story, the bottlenecks. Maybe tickets are assigned by hand, or maybe they're all just thrown into one big pile. This is where you find your root cause.
And only now, in step 4, do we start talking about solutions. See how that works? Your solutions aren't random guesses. They're targeted fixes for the exact problems you just found. If the problem is manual assignment, you propose automating it. If there's no accountability, you suggest tracking service-level agreements, or SLAs. It's logical and evidence-based.
Now this next step is what really separates a good answer from a great one. You don't just stop at the solution, you say how you're going to prove that it actually worked. This is where you define your key performance indicators, or KPIs. What numbers will prove that your changes made a real difference? And finally, step 6, you make it official. You'd say, I would document these requirements in a BRD.
get all the stakeholders to agree on the plan, and then work with the development team to get it built. This shows you understand the whole project, from messy problem to finished solution.
Let's just double-click on that fifth step for a second, because defining success metrics is so important. This is what shows you're not just thinking like an employee, you're thinking about the business's bottom line. It's a game changer.
So for our e-commerce problem, you'd suggest tracking things like this. We're not just hoping things get better. We are going to measure the average time it takes to resolve a complaint. We're going to track the customer satisfaction score. We're going to see how fast tickets get assigned and how many get solved on the very first try. These are hard numbers, tangible goals.
And when you lay out your answer using this 6-step blueprint, you know what the interviewer is thinking? They're thinking, wow, this person thinks like a real business analyst. You didn't guess. You showed a clear, logical, structured mindset, which is exactly what they're trying to hire.
So there you have it, a powerful blueprint for crushing that scenario question. But here's the final thought I want to leave you with. This whole 6-step process, it's not just a trick for the interview, it's the blueprint for how you'll succeed in the actual job, day in and day out.